Here we are more than halfway through the year, so let's go ahead and look at the June Mississauga real estate numbers. Advertising and the marketing really don't tell the full picture. So the biggest question for anyone on here right now thinking of selling, and you can find all of these slides on my Instagram, so be sure to check that out. Link is in the description below. For now, let's go ahead and run through these numbers. And of course, if you'd like, feel free to pause the video so you can get a better idea of these numbers if I'm running through them too quickly. Starting with all property types for June, and we're going to take all of these numbers moving forward, comparing month over month. Now, we all know real estate is a long-term game. However, it is nice to compare month over month to see what's happening in the short term, especially because that's what all the headlines are going to use. They're going to fudge those numbers to best suit the headline. And that's a whole other story. So let's go ahead and dive into these numbers. So there's 1.8 months of inventory. This tells us it's a seller's market. And that is up 50% month over month. List to sold price sitting at 102%. That's down almost 2% since last month. And then we have 19 average property days on market, which is the exact same as May, and a median sold price of $995, which is down 3.8% month over month. Taking a look at condo apartments, 2.4 months of inventory, which is pretty rare. Normally, the condos were the hottest thing on the market. It's best for people downsizing. They're best for people starting out, first-time home buyers, and what have you. So it's really interesting to see the months of inventory creeping up. As you'll see, they're up 50% month over month. List to sold price ratio, 100%. So that stayed even from last month. 16 days on market. So interestingly enough, even though inventory is up, they're selling a bit faster, so they're down 11%. And the median sold price is up 0.3%. It's barely worth mentioning, but I know for the people out there who love numbers, you're going to want to see that. So just a smidge higher month over month. Condo townhome saw 1.6 months of inventory. That's up 63%. List to sold price ratio is down 2.8%. However, it's still 104%. So this is telling us that condo townhomes have quite the demand out there if they're selling above and beyond ask. Now, I do take the list to sold price ratios with a grain of salt, because if everyone is knowingly listing well below market value, of course they're going to sell higher and you're going to have multiple offers and that sort of thing. But this has been staying pretty consistent, even though it's down 2.8%. Average listing days on market is 13, which is up 8%. Interestingly enough, with the higher demand and low months of inventory, the median price actually came down to $845,500. So that's down 3.8% month over month. Semi-detached, still another popular option, sitting at 1.1 months of inventory. That's up 37%. List to sold price ratio sitting at 106%. That's down 1.9. Let's call it 2%. Average listing days on market is 11. That's up 37.5%. And the median price came down 3.6% to $1,060,000. Looking at detached homes, 1.8 months of inventory. That's up 38.5%. List to sold price ratio sitting at 101, which is down 0.9%. Same as May, 13 days on market. And the median sold price actually came down 1%. And so it's sitting at $1,465,000. So there is the quick run through. Like I said, you can go back, pause it, have a look at those numbers, visit my Instagram as well. You can scroll through those to get a better understanding of what happened in June for Mississauga compared to May. So some really interesting numbers. And on that note, just want to make a PSA, like I've done on some of my other videos, is really be careful of the marketing and everything that's going on there. And knowing that the numbers and advertising and the marketing really don't tell the full picture. And actually, I'm going to switch screens here and give an example of that. So for example, a lot of the marketing, of course, never tells the full story. We've all seen the billboards and we get the advertising in the mail and that sort of stuff. For me, myself, I get to say I've sold 100% of every property I've listed. And it's been like that since the day I got my license. Now, I'm nowhere near the heaviest hitter on the block. And that's entirely the point I want to make, is there's a lot of brokerages and a lot of teams out there doing phenomenal business. And then when you really dive into the numbers, you realize there's a lot more happening, or rather not happening, than meets the eye. So the biggest question for anyone on here right now thinking of selling, and when you're interviewing an agent, ask them not how many homes they've sold, how long they've been in the business, it's irrelevant, is how many of the properties you've listed have you actually sold. And let me give you an example. I'm not here to call anyone out. I'm going to hide the names here that I'm typing in looking at these brokerages, but just to give you an example. So you'll see here what I did last update since starting at the beginning of the year up until June 30th. And you'll see this particular team or brokerage has 67 sold. We're just strictly looking at the sold data right here. Using my calculator here, you'll see why. We take this off, and this is going to have all the properties. So 67 properties out of 193 is a 34.7, let's call it 35% list to sold ratio, which means if you go with this team who sells a lot, you still have a 35% chance of actually selling the property. Now, granted, a lot of those are still on the market right now. That's why I went back to the beginning of the year. Some will be terminated and relisted. So it's possible one property actually is like 5 listings, so to speak, that may end up selling or not. But if you run it across the board, it still gives an idea of what they're actually doing. And if you're terminating and relisting that many properties, that's a whole other issue in itself, right? And I could go on about that and why someone would list at a price they knew they couldn't sell at. Well, because they could get buyers to come in, they take those buyers and sell them other properties that they know are priced appropriately, and they're okay having that property sit for a while because guess what? They've got another 100 on the market, so it really doesn't matter because it's just this churn and burn system. Whereas myself, I like to take a little more one-on-one, and that's why I can have 100% list to sale ratio. So that's the beauty of the business. We get to choose how we run our business and ultimately how that comes down to the consumer and their expectations. And I'm going to be frank, I have lost business over the years because I was honest with the market value of sellers' properties, and instead they went with someone who promised them the moon, a higher price at a lower commission, and then I see their property sit for 5, 6, one was like 8 months on the market. I'm not here to vent or complain. It's just the nature of the business. Just be careful if it sounds too good to be true or there's not the data to back it up. Careful of what people are telling you. So let's go ahead and let's have some fun here and check out some other brokerages and teams. Got one here. So 52 total listings, of which 35 have sold. So not bad. So 67% list to sale ratio. Let's check out another one. These are just coming to mind. 36 sold. So we got 36 out of 64, 56% sold. So again, not bad. Let's see some other things, other teams and brokerages that come to mind. These are all varying degrees. Some teams have a small amount of people. Some teams and brokerages have a large amount of people. So we want that to keep in mind as well. But let's say, so there's 29 total listings, of which 18 have sold. So 62%, again, not bad. Let's go ahead and check another one out here that just came to mind. So they've had 6 sold, 23 listed, so 26% chance. Like I said, be careful of what people are telling you. If they say, well, let's just list it at any price and see what happens, be warned, they will be coming after you to beat down that price later on when you realize you're not really getting any showings. So that's the end of my PSA, my little rant there. And why I bring this up, like I said, I see all the marketing too, and it's just like anything, numbers can be sort of swayed and interpreted in different ways for the benefit of who's ever sharing the data. So I want you to think the other side of it. Yes, a lot of people out there selling a lot of properties. However, what's the other side of it? How much aren't they selling? Which in my opinion is the most important thing when it comes down to choosing your realtor when listing your property. There we are for the market update. Any questions, leave a comment below, and we'll see you on the next video.